Welcome, ladies. I am so excited to be here and do this with you guys because we're kind of kickstarting this new and I guess leeway into Surrogacy Is Diaries, right? Is that right, Sam?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's really just kind of talking about topics with amazing women who are surrogates and being able to share some of our testimonies. So I'm excited to have you ladies on. I'd love for you, if you can, introduce yourselves, each of you, and who you are, and a little bit about yourself.
Sure, I'll go first. Okay. Sam, I am a one-time surrogate, although I've had two journeys. My first journey was two failed transfers, rematch, found me perfect. This is why I always think everything's meant to be. Those big bumps in your journey are like, no, in the end, it's meant to be. And I made the perfect match. Had a beautiful baby girl. That was almost 5 years ago, which is
Wow.
wild. Yeah,
Crazy. Time
yeah.
flies when you're having fun, man.
Yeah, it's incredible. And then turn now surrogacy marketing specialist support with Surrogacy Is.
Yeah. And how long have you been here? You've been here going, I think, over 2 years now, right?
2 years in November. It's on my
Wow.
Wow.
calendar. I'm like
Golly.
waiting for it. It's wild.
Yeah, I that's going to be a good day. I'm excited about that and honored that we've had to have you be a part of our family, and the Surrogacy is outpour of what we're trying to do here. So, Marissa, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am Marissa. I was a one-time surrogate. She's almost 6 months old. No, she is 6 months old. Oh my gosh. Time.
I
Time
follow
goes so
her on
fast.
Facebook all day long. I do the
So
How do you
cute.
not?
oh,
She's the
she's so
cutest
cute.
little
Yeah.
cherub, and her hair is getting so long, and she has the biggest little eyes, and she's just surrounded by so much love, and it makes your heart melt.
Yeah.
But I did it once. We had two transfers. The first one took, but then it didn't end up going the distance, and now we have this beautiful little clover. It's just so exciting. And I am with Surrogacy Is as graphic designer. I also freelance on the side, which I just signed a contract for my very first children's book, like
What?
illustrate. I know. I'm
Whoa.
so excited, and I'm a little stressed, but it's okay. We're gonna make it work.
Oh my God, I want to know more. You're going to have to tell us about that.
I know.
Yes.
It's all kind of ambiguous at the moment. I'm just
Okay.
going for it.
I
It
love
doesn't
it.
make you uncomfortable. Like you're not progressing. So I'm trying to I'm going to do this. It's fine.
I
It's
love
good.
that for
I
you.
love that
And
too.
that
Thanks.
a better way to do it, because I will have to say, and everybody knows this, we have some really beautiful merch. Our Surrogacy Is cups, all of our gear, our stuff that we give our surrogates. And that's all like Marissa's designs and ideas of putting it to life and really outlining how beautiful surrogacy is in a way that we're able to share that with our surrogates. So every time I get to design a transfer box and send that out to one of our surrogates who's about to have her embryo transfer, it's so stinking special because I get to see it all day long and everything we're doing. So we've got a special team of ladies here. Jamie,
Yes.
tell us,
Yes.
introduce yourself, please.
Yes, I am a one-time surrogate too. Like Sam, I had some bumps in first journey. I started out with one agency, and it just was not a great experience. So ended up breaking that match, found a new agency, and like Sam said, it felt like everything happened for a reason. Because matched with a great couple, had a surro baby. I think it's been 2 years now in September. So, and he was, I love to say he was a really big baby. He was 12 pounds, 13 ounces.
Ridiculous.
So
Guacamole.
that is like when
What?
everyone's like, I hate doing meetings and stuff where you have to give a fun fact. I'm like, I have my fun fact locked in for the rest of my life.
You do.
Oh
Oh
my
my gosh,
God.
you are a
Yes.
superwoman, is what you are.
And then I just loved it. And I didn't even do it for myself. It was for someone else. So, but because of that delivery and things like that, I am now a retired surrogate. I won't do another journey, but I'm still very passionate about surrogacy. And so landed here to help with copywriting. And I've just loved the experience because that's really what I hope to do is like help other surrogates learn and maybe learn from some lessons from the bumps that I've had in the past and just put a bunch of information out there to have better experiences and journeys.
I so appreciate that. And I think that's Sunshine and Kyle's, and our mission is really just that. As a surrogate, I did 2 journeys, and there are so many times that I feel like when I worked in the industry, I can say confidently now, you don't know what you don't know as you're entering into this process. And then being behind the scenes from the agency perspective, what I learned is all these agencies operate differently. So you have one agency that is doing it right and not missing the steps to protect this journey. And then you have other agencies that maybe aren't doing all of the steps. And really what the outcome of that is potentially a journey that can result in sadness and some scary situations. And so that education that I think you guys are so passionate about bringing forth with Surrogacy Is, and we are honored to have you be a part of this, is us, how do we reach these women and explain to them that it's necessary to know what you're looking at when you're getting into it and what questions that we should be asking. So I'm excited because we've got some really cool topics of just really diving into. And the first one is embryo transfer stories. So anybody want to share their embryo transfer story? Sam? You can see it on your face, you got one.
Oh man. Well, technically I have 3, but I'll go
Okay.
with the one that resulted in sweet, beautiful baby girl. Um, and I think everybody's been through this. So that's been a surrogate. When they tell you, and Marissa, I already know you feel into this. When they tell you to have a full bladder for embryo transfer, they don't tell you like exactly what a full bladder means. You know, is that like one full water bottle? Is it a couple? Is it half a glass? You know, so I get there, and that's the worst part. I always tell other surrogates, I was like, the worst part of embryo transfer is holding your
The
pee
worst.
because
The worst.
holy
And making
crap,
sure
you're
you don't
like,
pee on the doctor.
yeah, I'm like, I'm gonna literally, this is gonna be a terrible scene, and it's gonna be like a lifelong story. No. So all 3, I never learned my lesson. I drank too much water, but I was like, I'm gonna be the best surrogate because I'm gonna have a full bladder. It's
Yep.
gonna be great. But
Yep.
then I'm like dying, like it's painful. So
So painful.
You
Like
know,
yeah,
surprisingly
it
painful.
is
yeah.
you're typically going into this room, and what they also don't tell you, and I'm curious if you guys can relate to this, but it's usually in a dark room, in a cold room, because this sweet little embryo is sensitive to sounds and lights, and so you don't know. You're thinking like this is a joyful moment. It's going to be bright room with light colors and windows, and no, it's like this very, very, very stiff situation where you
Clinical.
walk in and you're
Yes.
freezing and you have a full bladder, and they're doing the ultrasound one, which doesn't feel great,
Yeah.
and trying to figure it all out. So that's so true. And I mean, it's a beautiful outcome, but also probably doesn't feel great when you're in the moment doing it too. So
Well,
No, and that's why they do the socks though. I still have my socks. They're like
I never
winter
got
socks.
socks. I didn't even
They
know
gave me,
socks were a thing.
Yeah.
I didn't either until they handed it to me.
yeah.
Thankfully, the fertility center I was at, they gave me some socks. And I was like, cool, why do I need these? And then I got in the room and I was like, wow, thank you. Because it is cold. And I remember when they inserted little embryo, little baby girl, little French baby. I always say I had some France in my tummy for 9 months. And I remember just seeing it and being like, wow, this is amazing. Like this tiny life is being implanted into my uterus, which I just naturally have. Like, you know, it's something that we think we don't realize is such an incredible superpower to have. Like we can help create life. And I remember thinking in that moment, and since my IPs were in France, we like zoomed them in. We were allowed to do that. And I remember just sitting there and just seeing their face, and they were just like filled with so much joy. And I had 2 daddies, so there wasn't a lot of like loss or anything yet for them. It was just this really excited moment of being able to build their family and having all this hope. So once she implanted, they're like, there it is. And I remember being like, where? But I was like, I know it's there, you know? And then I was like, okay, I'm out, y'all. I gotta pee. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I do have peace stories, and
Yes,
unfortunately for Jamie and Sam, they've already heard it. But I feel like
I
I
need
have
to
to say,
know.
and
Yeah.
I hope you noted I said stories like plural
Oh, good. I love it.
because we had the 2 transfers. So they did tell me the fertility clinic tells you how much water to drink, but they tell you, at least my clinic told me like ahead of time, like at least a few days or something like that. And so I didn't register it and I didn't write it down because I'm just going to wing it. And like Sam, I'm going to be a good surrogate anyway. I'm going to chug all the water. So like that first time I chugged all the water, it was way more than necessary for sure. And of course I'm like bursting, waiting. And so I did ask the nurse who was back there, like, can I just empty like like a tiny bit, just like a tiny bit.
Start and stop, can you?
Okay, this is where I'm going with this. This is where we're going. So and the only reason I thought about it is because I heard the person next to me do it, and I was like, thank Jesus, I'm going to do this. So like they send me into what I think is like the locker room for the employees, because the other chick was in the other bathroom. So I'm in this locker room. There's like people's stuff, and like it's clearly not like a real bathroom. And correct. So I go to sit down, and I quickly realized you can't do the full squat because things like instinctively will go. So I'm like hovering, and then you start trying to do it, and then you're realizing, oh my God, it's not shutting off. So you have to do this like weird like stand thing where you're like trying to like Kegel it, and that didn't work so well, and I ended up peeing on the floor like a little bit. And I'm just like, well, this is so wretched and embarrassing, but it's fine. I'm going to clean it up really quick because this is a locker room and they probably have like cleaning stuff somewhere. So then I'm like searching for the cleaning stuff and there's nothing. There's just
of course not
paper towels. I'm like, oh my God, I'm just going to like paper towel this
hey,
and be like, it's sanitary.
You need to go in here and clean this up for me, please.
God. So I did that, but it was okay. So that happened the first time. You would think I learned my lesson, but the second time also was very full. And unfortunate for me, my wait time was significantly longer. So I thought to myself, well, I was able to stop before, so I can do it again. So I do ask them to go in. This time I get the real bathroom, which is great. And I go to the bathroom. And this time I know don't sit all the way, so I'm hovering and I'm going. And I start doing the potty dance to try to Kegel and stop, and it doesn't stop. In like at least 25 to 50% of my bladder just like on the floor, which is a lot when it's filled to the brim. And so not only did they not have any kind of at least Windex or something, like someone give me something. Yeah. Like they had nothing in this bathroom either. So I'm still just like faux cleaning the floor. But now I'm thinking, oh my God, my full bladder is no longer full. And what if this affects the transfer? Like now I'm in big trouble. So then I'm like panicking, like, what do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, there's a sink. I'm going to go to the sink. And so I go to the sink and I start chugging water to refill the bladder that I just unfilled all over the floor. And I'm just so panicked. And then I leave the bathroom and I'm just like, I'm all done. I know you guys. I'm good.
You know,
was fine, but like...
That needs to be in your book, Marissa. You need to have that in your book.
Well, I was going to say
my book, but I mean, it's a story that needs to be told. Because I can't be the only one who is peeing on that floor. Why do they not keep cleaning products in the bathroom? There's
maybe
no
we
way.
Maybe we need an embryo transfer tips list. What to pack to embryo transfer, and it's like rags because you might pee all over the floor. Just in case.
And maybe a diaper is like a backup.
Maybe. Yeah, diaper. Wear a diaper to transfer.
I love it so much. These are the stories that we get to hold on to, which I think is pretty freaking cool.
Yay.
Jamie, any stories that you have?
Yeah, I feel like I'm the opposite from everyone because, you know, you hear all the stories of like, oh, it's just so uncomfortable. You're going to feel like you're burst. So I drank a ton of water and I'm like, I don't feel it. This isn't right. It needs to be more. And then it was like, oh, time to go back. And it's like, I hope this is enough. But I think like even growing up, my mom has always joked, like, you can just hold your pee for a long time. So I think
maybe
it was just one of those. Yeah. And I also told the girls, like, part of my medical protocol, they had me take a Valium before my transfer.
All right. Yeah. Mine
so I think that helped with like the uncomfortableness. And I just kind of felt like out of it.
Yeah. Like it's all okay. It's going to be fine.
Could you imagine us on Valium, though? Like, if I was on Valium with that much pee, I would have peed all over the waiting room.
That's what I'm saying. It would have been fine.
You wouldn't have cared,
I would like, oh, well, surrogacy life.
just the start of it, right?
Yeah.
You're just doing it early. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But these are the
Wild.
stories.
I did not know they were drugging surrogates beforehand. This was news to
They-
me. I
they-
just learned this.
Yeah.
They did that with me too. So they give you one that they tell you to take a little bit ahead of time, just because you come in with so many nerves and you're anxious and excited, but also like nervous. And sometimes for these parents, they're meeting as a surrogate, you're meeting your intended parents for the first time at the embryo transfer, because if they live far away, if they're able to come in for this big day and maybe they've done only video chats and over the phone, so they've got a lot of nerves, and the idea is to woosah and calm you down a little bit, you know?
It does make sense. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I do worry about my bladder, Sam.
Well,
That would have been a problem.
and it's why they want you to travel with a companion for the embryo transfers, because if they have you take that Valium or something that's going to kind of make you chill, that they don't want you getting in an Uber or a taxi to go back to the hotel to do the bed rest protocol and not have somebody there to kind of assist and make sure that you're safe and you're not getting in a car on Valium by yourself. So it's one of those things that I see a lot of clinics require a companion too.
Yeah,
So if women are considering surrogacy, anticipate that. Plus you want somebody there. You want a support person there. If you have one, doesn't have to be a spouse or a partner. It could be a friend, a sister, just somebody there to kind of guide and support you and cheer you on as you're going through that process.
Yeah.
So I think it's cool. See, we're always learning
sense.
something new. I love it.
Yeah, girl.
Okay, so pregnancy tests obsessions. I love this one actually. I'm thinking this might have been a Sam one. So Sam, do you want to go first?
Oh my God. Honestly, and this is something we wrote in our course, and that it's, I think we did. Maybe we didn't, and we need to. But
We need to.
I remember with my first transfer doing a test too soon, and I still had the hormones that gave me a false positive. And so I got so excited, and I was like, yes, it's positive. I remember then going in for the blood test and being like, why is it saying it's negative? And feeling so crappy. So, I mean, one of the biggest things I say is, yes, we can get super obsessed with doing those tests, but we have to also be really considerate of, and thankfully I didn't share it with the parents, because I just shared it with my case manager. But if I had, we would have all been like so excited about it. So you have to kind of have that balance as a surrogate of being super respectful of those parents who have gone through so much, or just, even if it's two, fathers, whatever it may be, that we just can't get their hopes up until, but that doesn't mean I didn't take way too many tests once it was like A-okay. I was like, whatever, I'm just going to keep going. And I did dollar store, because everybody's has that myth.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's a myth. I think
No.
it's legit. Dollar store tests are legit.
They are.
Yeah.
Listen, they were for me. I did it. I did like 12 of them and had them all lined up, and then took a picture of it when they were all positive. Easy way to do that, But I think you hit the nail on the head, right? I think as surrogates, we go into this with so much excitement and desiring for this to be yes on the first try. But the reality is not always is it going to be a yes. And if you have an agency, and this is something that we've really focused on in our organization, is that we've started to prepare some of those questions ahead of time. So the journey coordinator talks to the surrogate and says, have you talked with your intended parents about this prior to the transfer? So that way everybody can have that dialogue. It be a comfortable space where we're opening up, like, what have you gone through? We know that some of these parents, this is our last decision in choosing a surrogate, but this is their only option in growing their family, right? So if they've had loss, if they've lost a child, if they've had several miscarriages, maybe they're like, nope, I do not want you to test. And if you do test, that's okay, just keep it to yourself kind of thing. But going and having that dialogue prior to the transfer is so helpful, whereas sometimes the surrogate is already testing, and then she's like, oh wait, I never had that conversation with my intended parents. And then they share it with the parents, or they go and ask the parents, and the parents are uncomfortable, like, well, you've already tested, so I guess I'll want to know. So I think it's really just being vulnerable and realizing that the parents might be approaching this a little differently. And so how do we lean into that as surrogates and ask those questions? But also, how does the agency prepare the surrogate? Because a lot of us didn't even know, didn't even think about the other side of it. So I love that.
Perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just learned through experience. So my second match, my third transfer, I just didn't test. Somehow I had enough
Yeah.
self-restraint not to test. And
Yeah.
then when I did the blood test, it was so freaking high, they thought I had twins. And I was like, oh gosh, it did not split.
Yeah.
She didn't split. I don't think she split. I don't know. There's still some thoughts that it did, and then it was absorbed or something. Because even my
Oh.
placenta had like two different, the cord insertion, how
Whoa.
it worked. So
Okay.
thankfully, the universe was like, "Not you, Sam. You're good with one baby."
See, I had
Or
the
Jami.
opposite. Oh, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, and Jamie carrying a 12-pound baby.
I
She could have
know.
carried
That's right.
twins.
I still can't believe that, Jamie.
That would have put me
cannot
out of
believe-
retirement.
I can't believe I'm just learning about this
Oh.
12-pound baby.
Yeah.
That was like a new record. It had to have been.
Yeah, it was in the hospital. They
Oh
did
my
say that was
gosh.
the biggest baby.
That's so wild.
Yeah.
Did
I
they
had
tell
that-
you? Did they tell you before that the baby was like that giant?
So we knew the dad was a big baby, and they told
Okay.
me even in the match call, like he was a big baby. His mom used a midwife, so he was born at home, and they said that he was too big to be like register on one of those midwife. You know how they have those hammock things.
Oh no.
Like I'm gonna break it.
Yeah, so they're like, we think he was around like 11 pounds. And I was
Oh
like,
my gosh.
okay,
You were in
like
trouble from day one.
to me, I'm like, well, I had a 12, 14 baby and an 8, 6 baby. Like, it'll probably stop growing at that time. You know, they'll be like my babies. And that's what I learned is like, no, this is not your genetic. Those were your genetics and your babies. These are their genetics. So I don't change anything about it. But yeah, they kept saying like, yeah, this baby's big, but it never was like,
He came out walking.
can't.
Was that a
Right?
vaginal birth? Or was that C-section?
That had to be a C-section. We tried
Okay, thank
Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
for vaginal for a long time, and then it was just like, I'm tired.
You're a rock
let's
star,
try this.
Jamie.
And
Holy
that's
they're like,
amazing.
no wonder why he couldn't come out that way. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Your body's like, nope, not happening.
yeah.
Crazy. Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Oh my God.
Marissa, what about you? What is your story? I'd love to hear that.
I was not. I mean, I certainly took tests, and it was agreed upon ahead of time that I would.
Yeah.
I was not taking them excessively, I don't think. What I did take excessively was ovulation tests in between transfers. Because even though we were being very careful, I was very paranoid about getting pregnant on accident because that's a thing.
Yeah.
And the idea of that was not only devastating service level, but then when you get deeper to it, there's many different things that then happen because of that, which was also very scary. I took many ovulation tests like daily for a while whenever I thought I was about to, and it worked. I could see when I was starting to. So, I mean, if you're paranoid like me, highly recommend 10 out of 10. But I did take a lot of ovulation tests just as another little safeguard.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Scary.
Did you said how many transfers? So it took on the second transfer.
So the first one took when we
Okay.
went in for heartbeat. She had no heartbeat. They were measuring her right around, I think it was like 6 and 1 or something, and she was meant to be like 6 and 4 or something. So it had
Okay.
just kind of happened,
Yeah.
but it did take.
Okay.
But just the 2 transfers. Just
Okay.
the 2 transfers. But it was such a long gap in between them because there was lots of drama going on in between them.
Sure.
We lost that one in January, and then Clover was not a transfer until July. So
Oh,
there's
wow. That's a
large
long time.
gap.
And they didn't put you back on birth control? I mean, I know it's hit or miss, right?
You really, my mom brain, you're testing my mom.
I know. Sorry. Just curious.
I think they did not. Well, because she was not, I was not on birth control for her. They took me off for that cycle
Okay.
just to see how, which I don't know why. The first one took just fine. And actually my numbers with her, my beta numbers were not much higher, but they were higher even.
Yeah.
So it seemed like they had the cycle down pat. I was curious why they took me off, but they did. They took me off for her. I just don't remember if I was on birth control at all before they did decide to take me off.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Interesting.
Either way, it was a long gap, and they must not have had me on because I was so paranoid. So I guess that's
Yeah.
the answer. But
Okay.
very
Well,
paranoid.
And okay, so your intended daddies, did they want you to test? Did you guys decide to test and do that
We
ahead of time?
did. Yeah, they did want to know. Well, so the first time, no problem, and then the second go around, they were of course a little apprehensive, and
Yeah.
I think if I remember correctly, what we said was, I will test at home and not say anything. And then if it's like really strong, then you can tell us.
Yeah.
And we'll be excited together. But if it's maybe like a little weaker, we'll just maybe keep that on the DL and wait. But it came up pretty quick. I think it was 5 days past. I was already testing pretty positive.
So how did you tell them? What was that notification? Because I've got my story. I'd love to share that, but I really want to hear yours. Like, how did you share that with them?
The first time I think I sent them, we had been waiting all day long for the test results from Quest. It was like 7 or something at night when we finally got the results. And I remember shooting them a video being like, "You're having a baby!" But I think the second time, because everyone was so like kind of a little stressed about it, I think it was just a picture. I think it wasn't as, everyone's so cautious after you
I know. Well, and you just don't know, right? It could be a chemical pregnancy. It could be a miscarriage. And even if you want to get excited, sometimes it doesn't always work out the way we anticipate. But I think it's also okay to celebrate the wins and keep positive, and just knowing that we're going to all work towards the same goal and trying to celebrate every win that we can, because there's so much negative, unfortunately, when you've gotten to surrogacy and IVF, that potentially we need to celebrate those wins. Otherwise, what's the point? It can be really sad, in that. So I'm glad you guys got to do that. Jami, what about you? Any stories? How did you tell your parents, and did you guys test?
Yes. So we hung out when I went out to the transfer with them a little bit. And so that came up in conversation of like, do you want me to test after the transfer? And we kind of decided on, nope, we'll just wait until the beta. But I knew personally, like, I wanted to test and not share, because I wanted to, if it didn't work out, I wanted to have my mind already kind of ready for that, to talk to them about that. So and my agency was kind of really pushing, like, can you send us your pregnancy test? We're just curious. So I did start testing around like 3 days post-transfer. Wasn't seeing anything, so then was getting kind of discouraged. And then the line started showing up. And then the intended mom, probably 2 days before the beta test, reached back out. And she's like, I think we're ready now. If you wanted to take a test, we would be ready to see it. And I was like, I thought you would say that. So here's the 5 that I've taken this week. Because I just knew, like, if it did work out, like, I wanted to show them that progression too. So that, and it ended up, I'm so glad that we did that, because we had a heck of a time with like my beta testing. I was just going into like a walk-in lab clinic here, LabCorp, and we didn't know until I went in that they don't turn things around 24 hours. They like send it away. So then it was a scramble last minute. Can you go to the hospital so they could do it quicker? And we ended up doing that, and then some tech at the hospital like put my pee down somewhere, and like
Oh my gosh.
forgot about it. So the clinic was calling them like, we were waiting for this test and we're about to close so they did run it really quick and we got good number, but it was just like, man.
Wait, they found the pee that they put down?
Yes.
What
They're
is,
like,
okay,
oh.
so this is going to be the moral of the story.
Right.
Pee in Surrogacy Is, right? Seriously.
Yeah.
Who loses pee though? Like,
I'm-
it's not yellow Gatorade, y'all.
Yeah.
It's like,
And something that like, that they're like anxiously awaiting for this.
Yeah.
And it's like, so I'm glad that they at least had those tests then to be like, well, it'll probably be fine, and then it was. So
Do you all have your pee sticks still?
I do, but I have one for every single one of my
Yeah.
kiddos. So I have like 4 pee sticks. I had one, funny story. I had one out the other day because I was cleaning underneath my counter.
I thought you were going to say you were cleaning it. I was like, why are you
I was cleaning it because, I put it up in a mantle because it's so freaking amazing.
Gosh.
No, I was cleaning underneath my cabinet. So I just put it up because I was like, I should probably put this. Pee sticks are like this weird thing where it's like, where do I put it? Do I put it in a special bag? Like, but I'm not going to throw it out. So I put it on my counter temporarily. And Trent came into the bathroom and left at some point, and pure panic. He was like,
No.
like he didn't say anything yet. It was just kind of like, so how are you feeling? And mentioned something about a headache and nausea. He's like, is it because you're pregnant? And I was like, what? No.
No.
So
Oh, I love
careful
that
where you
so
put your
much.
pee sticks.
yeah.
Yeah, seriously, moral of the story. Actually, so for my first surrogacy journey, it was right around Christmas time, excuse me, right before Thanksgiving. And I did like a ton. I mean, 12 to 15. I remember being a long row of them, and they were all positive. And I had been doing it kind of starting at 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, taking it and seeing that progression. The very end, I took a picture, but that I videotaped. I mean, I called them on Zoom or FaceTime, whatever, right? And I'm on with them, and I said to them, happy almost Thanksgiving. Something to be thankful for is you guys are going to be parents. And I turned the video around and I let them see, and I just watched them, just tears running down their face. I mean, that's why we're here, right? Is
Yes.
to make them parents, and we know that they've gone through a lot, and those are some of my highlights in this, is like those wins that we get to have and celebrate with them. So it was pretty special. And then the funny test story is actually years and years and years later, I decided I wanted another child of my own. And so we tried for a baby, and it didn't necessarily work out the way we wanted. It was taking a little longer. Mind you, I was in my late 30s at this point, so it's not as easy as it once was in my 20s. But finally we did get pregnant, and I did a pee test, and I actually taped it to this box that like opened up, and it had this little saying to my husband, like, congratulations, you're going to be a dad. So in this, and it had this beautiful little thing and drawing, and it was really cute. But I found it a few years later, and I left it on the counter, and my oldest, who's now 19, found it, and she was like, this is disgusting. Why did you keep this? And I'm like,
Don't understand.
you just don't get it. You will, Mindy. You don't. Yeah.
Someday you'll
Yes,
get it.
Yes.
You're so cutesy with your stuff. Like,
Are.
I try to be. I'm one of those people. I think for me, it's like those are the things that I enjoy. So I want to do that for others as much as I possibly can. So yeah.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started. I've got so many silly stories like that. So
so cute.
favorite. So any, I guess, takeaways that we want to highlight when it comes to testing? I know that testing is beautiful and wonderful, but I think also just for us mamas who lean into this world of surrogacy, making sure you have an agency that's helping you, coaching you on that, and then also having that dialogue ahead of time, I think is just going to help that relationship build, and knowing that so often these parents probably are coming from this in a sad place. Not always, but sometimes they are. So having that dialogue ahead of time, I think, is going to help you're navigating that relationship a little bit better and building on that. So yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that. Okay, next topic that I love so much, and I'm really curious what you guys have to say on this, was cravings, pregnancy, and quirks. Who wants to start that? Jami, you want any
Sure,
cravings?
I remember really early on in my pregnancy, I was craving pad thai, which is like something that I would never like normally eat. And I told me and the intended mom, we would text every week. And so I was just mentioned, I am having this like really crazy craving for pad thai. And she's like, that is like one of our favorite foods. So it was like,
Oh my gosh.
so that was kind of cool, because
Serendipity.
it was like, me and my family don't eat this regularly, so this is your baby, and he knows. Yeah. And then tuna was the other one, and it was like, of course, like tuna, where you shouldn't be eating all the time anyway, but especially when you're pregnant. So
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so good. I love it.
Oh my gosh, little Clover, all she wanted was breakfast food.
Oh, okay.
All she wanted was breakfast food,
Eggs
which
and
I wasn't
sausage
mad
and
about.
bacon.
Yeah.
And
Like everything. We are still. I don't usually eat breakfast like before. I was not like a pregnancy person. I was not
Pregnancy
like a pregnancy person before pregnancy. But now, even after she's been born, we still have breakfast all the time because she's got me conditioned to wanting breakfast, and like the fattest sandwiches with like
Yeah.
avocados and tomatoes and like all the things. It was really absurd.
you had me at hello. Oh my gosh, that sounds so good. I didn't eat breakfast this morning. Just my tea
I mean, it
here.
was yummy.
She was just teaching you self-care. Take care of yourself.
There you go.
Marissa, eat your breakfast.
Eat your breakfast.
I will take it. And she did not come out a 12-pounder, but the breakfast certainly showed on her too.
Yeah.
12 freaking pounds. My surrogate was actually the smallest of all my babies, but all my babies were
Was she?
different sizes. It was weird. My first one was 8, my second one was 6, and then my surrogate baby was almost 6, like at the we end of 5. Her dads were very small, so that was expected. And then my most recent one was 7. So I've had all the pounds except 12 beyond 8.
Does anybody have 12 except for Jami? I think that's specific to Jami.
I've been doing this a long time, almost 16 years, Jami, and you are the first person I've heard to say that you've delivered a 12-pound baby. So you, in my mind, are a freaking rock star.
Yeah.
The fact that you even went into that delivery thinking you were going to do a vaginal delivery.
Vaginally, right?
Oh my God, tear. I'm just imagining tears from like,
I know.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we got lucky that
I will
Well-
say Clover was my biggest, but she was my smallest tear. So, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although 12, I don't know how you could push that out.
It was
No way.
So yeah, it was awesome because in the C-section room they let both the intended parents come in. They let our birth photographer come in, and then my support person. So they were like very accepting to it. And the only thing I asked for is like, can you just weigh him in the room so I can hear right away? Like, because that's what I've just heard this whole time is like he's gonna be big. He's gonna be big, and so you could just hear like the cheer, like the uproar of everyone, like, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm like, "What? I can't see."
they're like, we're gonna need bigger outfits for this kid. We
Yeah.
need freaking 6-month
Yeah,
size
I was
outfits.
going to say 3 to 6. Had to have fallen into 3 to 6 jams, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. I actually need to see a picture after this, Jami,
Agreed.
please.
Okay. Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right,
is
good.
that child larger now? Or did they kind of thin up?
No, he is. He's 2, but he looks to me like he could pass as a 3 to 4-year-old. But
Yeah, I love it.
but
he's
their
gonna
parents
be,
are
he's
just
gonna
like
be a sports
tall,
person,
skinny.
maybe,
Yeah.
you know?
So
Yeah.
he's gonna.
I
Yeah.
love
Bill.
it.
Go him. That's
Bill.
I
cool.
love it.
Yeah.
So
I'm
much.
curious, you guys, when you guys went into labor, did you call your intended parents right away? Like, what did that? Because I remember when I went in labor, my surrogate baby was the first time my water broke, like knowingly, because I've done all home birth or birth centers, so I was always like in a tub or in a shower, and I had no idea what it felt like. And so when my water broke, I thought I was just peeing myself, more pee. But legit, like I peed the bed, and I was like, wow, that's weird. My belly's really getting big. So then I went to the toilet, and I was just sitting there for like at least 5 minutes, just like peeing. And I'm like, this is such a weird sensation. I don't know if it's different with surrogacy. It's not, you know. And so then I went back to bed and just kept peeing myself. And I was like, this is weird. So I called my case manager, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, but I maybe my water broke. And she's like, I think you need to go in. And I was like, okay.
Okay, wait, Sam, I think
so
it's, I just have to pause for a second. I think it's funny that you were more willing to accept the fact that you were just continually peeing yourself instead of like, I'm having a baby.
Yeah.
I can't believe that
Yeah.
was
It
the
is that
acceptable
time.
thing to you.
I didn't know what it felt like. And you know, all the movies are like, it goes, and I was like, that's not real. And I'm like,
Oh my god.
I'm just wrong. But I also, when you're like do home births and stuff, you're not really panicked when it comes to labor. So you're just like casually like, okay. So
gonna
my
happen.
mindset was already like, la-di-da. Different with labor though, because your mindset's different when you have a baby that's not yours. You still love and care for that baby, but your mindset, your emotional mindset is so much different because when it's your baby, you're like, every contraction, and this is my doula talk, every contraction gets you that much closer to holding your baby, right? So it's like, I can do this, let's go. But when you're a surrogate, it's like, this is worth it, but this baby's going to go to the parents and I get to see them become it, but it's just a different mindset. So when I was in labor, I did everything naturally, and my first baby took 25 hours of active labor. I'm not kidding, y'all.
moly.
Back labor, like I yelled at my partner, like he was like, my hands hurt, and I was like, oh my god, my vagina hurts, but okay. But when it was a surrogate labor, I remember my mom was there with me and telling her, I was like, I can't do this. Go get the epidural person. Bring him in here, because the dads were like, it's your body, Sam. You do what you need. We support you. And I was like, I'm gonna go natural, y'all. And they're like, you're a rock star, cool, but you don't need to. And I was like, my mindset just shifted. I was like, you know what? They are okay with me doing the epidural. So that's giving me permission
Good for
to be
you.
like, let's go.
Yep.
So I was like, get this person in here. And my mom was like, you can do it. And I was like, I know I can,
I
but I
don't
don't
want
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 to.
to.
I
to?
don't want
Yeah.
It's
to.
not my
Oh
baby.
my
They're cool with
gosh.
it. Like, get the needle in here. Let's go. And I don't know if anyone else, whoever, I don't know if you guys have had epidurals, but
I did.
why do they make you, you have to sit so still for an epidural, but you're
Yeah.
having active contractions.
Yeah.
That was the
They
most
try to catch you
Yeah.
in
challenging.
between the contractions. I was laying my head, my head on my intended mom's shoulder, and she had like
Aw,
wrapped her
Oh.
arms around me.
cutesy.
And that was like that moment, and I'm like just trying to relax through it because I'm thinking if I can just get through this and get that epidural, it'll all be fine. I'll be
Yeah.
fine. Like the volume, it'll be
The
fine.
volume. Wait, so how long does it take to do that? To
I
put a
mean,
little tap in your back? How long does that?
well, it's such a important piece and it's such a serious piece that there's
Yes.
this special doctor that is trained and educated on how to do this and perform this because it can go wrong. I've heard it go
Yes.
wrong, right? Or it only do half, and so they want to do it right on the first try. So what they were doing is they touch and they feel and they're kind of gauging where they should be doing this at. And then they're also trying to be mindful of doing it in between your contractions. But if you were having these back-to-back contractions, you were probably just do it, you know?
So like 5 minutes? 10 minutes?
I mean, like from start to finish, it's a prepping of maybe 15 minutes, I
Yeah.
guess, you know,
Wow.
because they have to get you leaned over exactly the right way, and then they have to clean it, and then they need to kind of adjust and figure out where it's at, and then they do it, and then once it's in, right? But it does take a minute, so.
Did you feel it? Everyone's like, the pain of the needle. But then I'm always like, I hear people say you don't notice because of the contraction.
I mean,
I
it's like
didn't.
I considered it like a pressure, not
Yeah.
like necessarily a pain, but more of like this pressure, I guess. But I was in so much pain, I was like, "Give it to me." That's what,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Do it. Yeah.
All of it. Oh my gosh. I tried to get an epidural with Clover because I was wimping out. Well, I think the castor
You did
oil
not
made
wimp out.
No wimps.
everything.
No wimp out.
Well,
wimping.
I think the castor oil made everything more intense. So her labor was like horrendous. My other two were also med free, but it was not. By the time we were like only at 5 centimeters with her, I was already having contractions that felt like
Oh yeah.
the end game with mine too. And I knew when they told me it was only 5, I was like, I am
Done.
screwed. I am
Good for
so
you.
Ugh.
screwed.
Don't you hate that when they're
And
like,
I-
you're there?
Well, for the longest time, I was like, I don't want to know. Like, I want her to check me, but like, if she tells me I'm only this far, I'm gonna like die. And then I did it, and I was like, this is terrible. But I did ask for an epidural. I think I actually yelled for an epidural, like very cliche movie, like, give me the beeping epidural. I want the epidural. But they kept telling me, my doula was like, it's okay, hon. You're so close. You're so close. And I'm thinking, she is feeding me a line because she knows this is what I want to do and she wants to keep me on track. And I'm like, I know this is not real. And then I ended up having the baby, like, whatever, 10 minutes later. And I was like, okay,
good
so sorry,
for
Trish.
you.
You are,
Yeah.
I didn't give you enough credit.
Ugh.
But I
But
tried.
you know what? Good for you to like lean into that and say that you
mean-
want it, and then you did rock star it out at the very end. That's freaking awesome.
Well, I had no choice, but I really wanted that.
I was the
that
person
shot.
who said, I will never be a rock star. I'm absolutely doing an epidural every single time. And I had a doula who was like, are you sure? And I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm sure. You can rub my
Nothing wrong with
feet
that.
and help me feel comfortable in the process of this, but it's still happening this way.
Yes, yeah.
Sam, did you do Jami, did you do an epidural?
I did end up with my surrogate baby, like Sam. I didn't for my youngest. I didn't do an epidural, and I was set on like, nope, I'm not gonna do it. I had this picture, like I just wanted to push this baby out and like have the dad catch it or the mom, and that ended up didn't. I got to a point like Sam where it's like, I think I was in labor already for like 24, 25 hours.
Moly.
And it was like, I know that I'm doing something really good. So, like, if I need
Exactly.
something help with some pain, like, that's okay. And then it ended up working out since I had to have a C-section anyway. I would have had to have that anyway. So, it all worked out. But it was, one of those feelings of like, I've given all that I can to this, and now
Yeah.
it's time for some relief. And they're, the parents are just like, we're just ready to meet.
Yeah.
I remember when they came back in after we decided we were going to do a C-section, I just started bawling because I was like, I just really wanted to have this beautiful experience with you guys, and it's going to look different now. And they're like, we just want you to be safe, and we just want to meet our baby. Like, it's fine. You're doing great. And it was just like, okay, yep, you're right. So
we are so hard on ourselves as women and moms, and in stepping into this role of surrogacy. I think so often one of the questions I get all the time in the years of doing this was, can I have an epidural if I want one? It's like, girl, yes. The thing of with surrogacy is the intended parents, if that's something you want, you've done 9 months of this beautiful thing and growing this human, the oven, cooking that bun, right? Give yourself a little bit of that grace and know that you've done something. And these intended parents will be here supporting you through that, and if you want an epidural, yes, you get that epidural.
Yes.
And know that you are
Absolutely.
still a rock star. Jeez.
Yeah. Like, disclaimer for anybody watching, like, no matter how you do it, whether it's completely natural, epidural, all the meds in the world, C-section, you are a rock star because you just brought a whole life here.
Yeah.
And that's for moms and surrogates. Like,
Yep.
my dad's didn't, they were like, you do you. And of course, there will be sometimes intended parents that have that preference of natural. And it's very rare, honestly. I don't see it often, but when it does happen, then you're going to get matched, But there's always potential interventions and stuff that you have to lean into, and you have to give yourself so much grace because holy crap, like, no matter how you do it, it's incredible. And I always say, like, as a surrogate, it is so empowering and so humbling. Like, it's this like play of humble, incredible empowerment of knowing that you are doing something huge. Like, you can't just go in. I mean, money can be a huge reason to help your family, but your heart's in it regardless. It has to be because holy guacamole. Like when you mentioned the small moment of just sharing the pregnancy test, being a part of that, like, that's a monumental thing. These are monumental things that we get to be a part of with these parents. And that is just so humbling and
cool.
so empowering.
Yeah.
It's so freaking cool. I love talking about it. And my daughter loves talking about it too. My daughter will tell everybody that her mom was a surrogate. And they're like,
She's so
"What?"
proud of her. And my daughter does the same thing. She used to go to school. It was so cute when Tori is now 19, or going to be 19 here soon. And she would go to school and she would say, yeah, my mom's carrying a baby for somebody else. It's not our baby. It's somebody else's baby. And for somebody who didn't know what surrogacy was, I had to go in and explain to them.
Right.
But she was so proud of that her mommy was able to do this. And how neat is it for us as women to show our kids that love is love, and that we have the opportunity to help create families in this way. I say this all the time. The people that know me best probably get annoyed how often I say this, but there are a few things that I'm really proud of. Being a mom is my very most thing that I'm proud of. But being able to help somebody in the way that we did as surrogates, at the end of the day, when I'm an old lady and I look back at my life and I look at all of the accomplishments, the couple things that I'm going to hold on to was that I got to help somebody in a way that was a ripple effect. I met with this woman last night. Her daughter has been struggling with fertility, and she's not been able to have a child. Her and her husband, they're in their 40s. She's against IVF, and she thinks that it hasn't been around long enough, and she's nervous about this idea of trying to do this. What if the baby has any, there's any issues or complications in that? So, or if this affects her body in a negative way. So she's just decided, well, I guess it's not in the cards for me to be a parent. And that's heartbreaking. And I tried to explain that perspective as a surrogate. For me, helping my intended parents, I also helped their parents be grandparents. Yeah. And that was so cool. And this child exists because there was another person willing to lean in and say, I couldn't imagine not being a parent. And if you want to be a parent, I want to help you get there. And let's let this be a team effort, and let's let this happen. And all of us be proud of ourselves for that. So it's like for surrogacy, how many of you have met somebody who's only done it once? like making that decision that I've not been retired and I want to. So many times these women decide, I want to do this again if I can, right? So I think
Absolutely.
it's a really cool club that we're in, ladies.
It is.
Yeah, I actually always tell women exactly what you were saying, which is that it's not just this moment. Like we are literally helping create generations to come of that ripple effect. Like, what? That's wild for me to be like, then that baby will probably have a baby and so on and so on. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
I think about
So
that a lot
good.
too, because Hollis is an only child, and Clover is his DNA. So like, if that first one had stuck, which was Brian's, Hollis's line would have stopped. It was just meant to be. You know, it's kismet.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I think about that a lot.
I didn't know
the
that.
ripple effect.
I didn't know that either. That's cool to think of it in that way.
know.
Yeah.
When we had them on the podcast, they shared that, and I just thought that was really beautiful. And I joked with the very end. I said, "Are you guys going to be done with one and done?" And they're like, "Yeah, probably." And then one of them was like, "Maybe." And I'm like, "You guys aren't done. You watch it and wait and see." You know?
Every now and then, because I just saw her in person for the first time since delivery, whenever that was, a month and a half ago. And even then, I would ask them that sort of thing. And I feel like I was getting kind of halvesies answers. But the general vibe, I think, is still one and done.
Okay.
But I think they're aware that the magic age group of like 1.5 to 2 is coming up. That's when they always sucker you in.
Yes,
So I think they're aware and they're like bracing to see.
Yeah. It's because they go to that toddler phase, and then you start looking at those videos and pictures of when they were 6 months old and a month old. And my husband does this. I'm like, stop looking at those videos, because then you're like, oh, we could do it again. No, we can't. We're done.
Easy for you to say. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
You don't want to end up like me or Casey, where we have a baby. Like for me, it was like 12 years later, and now I'm in the baby stage again, and I'm like, what did I do? I just was able to kick back and relax finally. My kids were independent. JK.
You know, we weren't sure if we were done before Clover, and we kept saying like, Clover's going to be that determining factor. When we have her, we're either going to know we want more or we're going to know we're done. And she did her job, and we aren't done.
Okay. Good for you.
Because, Brian, I can't go back. I'm not going back. I don't want to do that.
It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work.
So much work.
So funny. Okay, so next topic, first contact with the intended parents. This one's my favorite, you guys, so I can't wait to hear everybody's first contact. Marissa, what was that for you when you had your first contact with the intended parents?
Our first contact, I feel like maybe they even chatted with you about this when they were on the podcast.
They did.
Sorry, my earbuds keep falling out. So ours was the best because we knew right away. It was like the perfect blind date.
Yeah.
We had our little Zoom call, and Kyle was on from the agency, just like to be the buffer, you know, for whenever the conversation lulls. And I forgot he was there. I'm pretty sure Brian and Hollis forgot he was there. I know my husband forgot because it was just like, and you know, you've of course met them. They're very easy to talk to. Conversation just like flows like butter. And it very much was like that instantly. So it's just like this instant love connection. It was just so very meant to be. And I just, to this day, it feels remarkable that we ended up with them, because I had 2 other couples that we were looking to try to match with before them, and they didn't work out for various reasons. And I keep thinking, oh my gosh, what if those had worked out? Like, they would not have been this like perfect once in a lifetime little match, but oh my gosh, it worked out because it's meant to be.
It was meant to be. It was in the universe.
Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty likable. They were so freaking funny.
My gosh.
Sunshine and I did a lot of laughing, and at the end of our podcast, we're like, they just interviewed us. How the heck did they do that?
They're professionals at all the things in life, and they have this very cool talent, very bespoke talent of like surrounding themselves with the coolest people. It is, I wish Jami, Sam, I wish you could meet them, because you don't fully understand until you meet them. There's like this, I call it the Brian and Hollis effect, because it just doesn't fully make sense to you until you meet them, and then it clicks. You're like, why am I obsessed with these people? I met them like 2 minutes ago. But it's a thing. It's a real thing.
I know. It was funny because I don't think that they had said, we didn't even know you guys were surrogates. We didn't even know half of these things. So we're talking and sharing our testimony, and they were blown away. And they're like, tell me more. Tell you more. And I'm like, okay, here we go.
I was just talking to Brian yesterday. He called me and he was reiterating his love for you and Casey, or you and Sunshine and Kyle, because he thinks you are so amazing.
Yeah.
And you are.
Well,
But like
we
they
love
just
them, too.
loved chatting with you all.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, those are the special moments, I think, those relationships, and you don't know what that looks like when you get into it and you're trusting the process. And I think having an agency that's going to have some thoughtful looking at what is it that the parents want in this relationship and journey, because it's going to maybe look different than what the surrogate might want. And what does a surrogate want, and making sure we're making these thoughtful matches. I think that's part of having a really thoughtful agency that's asking those questions, leaning into that, instead of where we have seen it. I think all of us can raise our hand to say we've talked to those women where they find an agency, they maybe don't do their research, they start the process, they go through intake, and they're like, okay, we're ready to match you, with no dialogue of what are you wanting in this? What kind of relationship? What does that look like after? Are there any expectations? Do you want them to come and be a part of this journey? And I think having an agency and knowing as a surrogate that you get to lean in and say, this is what I want, make sure you ask those questions, and make sure that you may not know what you want, but you know that you want an agency to ask those questions so that they are on the other end reading a very thoughtful profile and like, oh my gosh, I've just gotten to know Marissa, Sam, and Jami. This is that perfect match. I think is going to be a great fit, because the agency has the opportunity to connect with these intended parents and get to know them and understand what they're looking for. So you're finding that good, I call it a puzzle piece, right? It's kind of like blind dating in a way, in the sense that like you're trying to make this work for 9 months, sometimes a lot longer in that process. And we want it to be a good fit, and not every piece is going to be a good fit for every puzzle. So it's finding that right puzzle piece that's a good match. So when you saw their profile, what did you think, Marissa? You were like, this is it? What was that aha moment for you?
I knew right away. And, you know, when I saw their profile, it was very, it wasn't very descriptive. It didn't have like some of the nuance about like who they are, you know.
Yeah.
But just the imagery and just the way they described who they were, I don't even know that I could pinpoint like one specific thing, but you just like know.
Yeah.
And I will say, based on what you were just talking about, that I don't know that the questions that my agency asked were all that in depth. I don't have anything to compare that to, so I don't know. But I was very intentional when I filled out my questions for my profile about listing super specifics. Like, I want a family who has this set of core beliefs and this set of XYZ and this set of parenting, whatever. Like, and I thought to myself, this is kind of specific, really specific, and I don't know if it's really going to work in my favor. You know, I have this laundry list of things, and I feel like I'm not going to get all these boxes checked, but what the heck. But I did, like, because of the specificity that I gave them, I ended up with literally like the perfect match.
You did. Yeah. I think leaning into that, and that's exactly right. You hit the nail on the head, making sure you know what you want. And then also being okay with, if you see a profile and the agency, and you are confident in your agency, and that agency says, I've just found the perfect match because I know who you are, and I met with them and they're amazing. Their profile might not reflect how great they are if they're reserved, if they've had a lot of heartbreak or struggle. They might be only giving you a little bit of that profile. So if you feel like you trust your agency and you can lean into that, I've had some surrogates be like, I read the letter and the profile, I'm not feeling necessarily like the rainbows and butterflies and unicorn feeling. And then the agency says, let's do a match call. And then they walk away feeling like, oh my gosh, I almost missed out on this beautiful match. And that was the match. I can tell you, I've talked with so many women who was like, I didn't know if I felt it on that, like reading their profile. And I said, well, I know I can tell you, I love your agency. And I know if they're coming to you saying this is a beautiful match, I said, I would really love to see you go do that match call. And if it's not the right fit, that's okay. And then she called me that next day like, I almost said no to my perfect match. And they did have a beautiful journey. So it's like leaning into that as a surrogate, feeling confident you can go onto that match call. And if it's not the right fit, you know, you can say it's not the right fit, and your agency will continue to look for you. But if you're not sure, leaning into that moment of like, let's see, so that you don't miss an opportunity of having this really cool, beautiful match too. So Huge.
I totally echo that, Casey, because prior to being the social media specialist, I was doing surrogate advisor work. And I remember speaking to so many women that they were like, Sam, I don't know that I love this profile. And I would repeat the same thing. I was like, you know what? Do the match call. Just see. Not because you're saying yes, okay? You're just testing it out. And you'll know in that call if it feels good, if it doesn't. And even after that match call, sometimes we have follow-up questions we weren't comfortable asking in the call.
Yeah.
Ask your case manager and see what, responses you get. So it's okay to initially be like, this isn't perfect, but then it will slowly evolve because also sometimes intended parents have their guard up, even in those
Yeah.
match calls because they've gone through so much or they're just it's also like a blind date. It's like this awkward, like,
100%
hello,
a
I
blind
might carry
date.
your baby.
Yes,
Like, how are
it
you?
is.
It's like weird.
Weird.
So, it's going to be a little bit unnatural and that's okay too. So also leaning into being like, this might evolve, but also holding and knowing that if it really doesn't feel good, it's okay to say no. But
Yeah.
also like, if not every box is checked, like for me, I didn't have the greatest agency experience, and that's why I'm here, making sure other women have incredible experiences. And
Yeah.
so with my agency, I did what you did, Marissa, and I like wrote like a whole laundry list. And I was like, this is absurd. I'm not going to find this. And they didn't really look into it. They gave me like opposite way matches that didn't really align. And I'm somebody who was like open minded. I was like, okay, let's just try, But you also have to advocate for yourself in that way and also
Mm-hmm.
be like, no. So I remember being like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not right, the right. And not being
Good
like,
for
I want this
you.
so bad that I'm going to say yes and then not
Hmm.
have a good
Yeah.
journey. Like you have to be
Yeah.
okay
Yeah.
sometimes with saying no while
Yeah.
also having the balance of being okay with knowing sometimes not everything's checked. Sometimes it's not rainbows and unicorns immediately, but it will. Because my first match call with my original parents I thought were the ones, and I remember being like, this isn't perfect, but like, and then when I rematched, I was like, we did yoga on our Zoom call.
Oh my
And I was
gosh.
like,
Whoa,
this
That's
is
that's
it.
beautiful.
We're like,
Yeah.
we love
fancy.
you. We're like, hey, like you're a
Oh
yoga
my
teacher. And I was like,
God.
yeah. So we
Oh,
started doing yoga. And it was like, okay, this is great. This is going to be great. And it
mm-hmm.
was. It was
Yeah.
beautiful.
That's
I
the
love
most
that.
Sam thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
So good. So
Yeah.
stinking good.
Yeah.
Jamie, what about you? What
Yeah.
was that first meeting?
I was just going to echo kind of what you guys, as I mentioned before, I was working with an agency that I just found kind of off Google. We didn't have like a really extensive profile that you filled out, but I made it very clear every time I talked to them that I was set on working with midwives here, and that was really important to me. And they tried to tell me that that was something you couldn't do in surrogacy. You had to work with
Weird.
an OB. And so I said, okay, I could maybe be okay with that. Maybe this hospital, they just were doing all these things that were like, they were undermining me and trying to like push me in the way that would fit to check somebody off their list. So
Oh,
it just got to the point where it's like, this does not feel right anymore. And you are like, they were like bullying me. Like they tried to tell me like if I broke this match with this couple because they didn't want to use midwives, that they only had one embryo left and that was going to ruin their embryo. And I was like, in our match call, I remember them saying that they had like, you're lying to, like, you're trying to manipulate me. So it's
Sorry,
definitely not
Jamie.
someone that we work with or, like, would ever recommend. But so I ended up breaking that match, but it was really hard. Like you said, it was like, I just want to help someone out. And I heard their story and I feel like really bad. Maybe I could just do it this one time and then my next journey I'll just make sure that I do what I want. And luckily this mom, it was never communicated to her that I was so passionate about that. So she came into it and she's like, you have your beliefs and we would never ask you to go against that. And we have ours and we wouldn't feel comfortable going against them either. It's just, this isn't going to work out. So I just remember her saying that and like just crying, like, you just let me off the hook. You like gave me permission to say that this isn't okay.
Yeah.
So I think we both like left the agency after that. Obviously, I didn't have contact with them anymore because they didn't. But
Respect
then,
any of the things that you wanted.
anything, yes. So then when I went to this new agency and it was like a longer profile, I did the same thing. Like, did I mention that I want to work with a midwife? Like every question. Like, this is really important to me. So yeah, as I mentioned, my intended father, his parents used midwives, and he was born out. So that was one thing that like we connected on. And yeah, it was just like little things in their profile. Like I had mentioned that I studied abroad in New Zealand, and they mentioned that they would love to go to New Zealand. And it was just like, that is like so weird how these little puzzle pieces are just kind of connecting for us. And it just felt like I knew them looking at their profile, that when we got on the call, it was just like so easy to talk. And as soon as we hung up, it was like, yep, I want to work with them.
You just knew.
Yeah.
That's so much
Yeah.
for
I
you.
love that. That was so interesting to me. Oh, sorry, Kate.
No, go.
I was just going to say that's so interesting to me hearing you talk about your experience, Jamie, and you, Sam, in terms of basically the first time you tried to connect with someone, you both were willing to kind of compromise. And I was the same way with the two that didn't work out. I was willing to compromise because of the whole, like, well, I guess I can just do it because I want to help someone mentality. And I wonder, because that's 3 for 3, if that's a super common surrogate mindset, which is sad. I wonder how we can help people realize you should not be compromised.
You know what? It's not the mentality of the surrogate, so to say. It's really, I think the surrogates come in with confidence, and then if they're with an agency that isn't supporting that and backing that, then there's that guilt factor that comes into play, where they're like, well, this is the only parent, and you know, because of all of your expectations and requests, that we don't have anybody else, you know, or the lack of information that the parents are getting on that other side. So I think it really hits the nail on the head that women considering surrogacy and intended parents, like I'm seeing a whole different side of surrogacy as an agency now, and doing this in the year plus that we've been doing this. There's so many intended parents that go in with no information. You don't know what you don't know until you're in it. And that's the sad part. And so I think for me, it's really bringing forth the education. Sunshine and Kyle and our entire Surrogacy Is team are on a mission to change that, right? Because you're right, Marissa, this is happening more than we'd like to admit with so many agencies, and the surrogate not knowing that they have the power to lean in and ask more questions, and same thing for the parents. So Jami, I love that your intended mom was like, I want to respect you where you are at, and if this is not something you want, I need you to know that I hear you and I respect that, but here's how I'm feeling. And so maybe this isn't the right match, and that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
So cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And just like to go off what Marissa's saying, like, I'm so glad I didn't make those compromises now, because how was I to know that I was only going to get to do this one time, you know? And I could have like missed out on having a journey that I really felt
hoping for.
was hoping for.
Yeah. I was gonna say, when you're with an incredible agency, they're going to support you in that way of being like, no, you tell me what kind of intended parents you want, or to the intended parents, you tell me what kind of things you're looking for in a surrogate. Like, they intentionally, and that's something I can say firsthand as a previous advisor, that we want to love on you. We want to see what you want. Of course, there's, you know, things that we have to understand. There's very small compromises and things like that. But overall, we want the most incredible experience for you. So, and it's going to help both parties if you both love each other, if it's a good match. Like, it's going to be incredible for everybody. So it's like a good, really just supportive agency is going to want that. They're going to step up as well and help you, because I think that's a mindset for just women in general. A lot of times, not every woman, I'm learning to be empowered, but where we just compromise and we don't speak up. Like, that's so it's like, just in surrogacy world, you want that agency that speaks up with you, for you, supports you, educates you. Like, oh, I can't even, if I always say, like, maybe I'll do another journey, but because now I can see, you know, what a huge difference it can be to have that education, everything, and just that support. It's just incredible what we're doing.
I think the profile is telling for the agency. It's so funny. It was really important to, when we started Surrogacy as the agency, to be an agency that had a thoughtful profile for the surrogate and the intended parents. I don't know if you guys have read every question on our profile. It's really lengthy, and a lot of the surrogates come in going, this is a lot of pages. I think it's like 10 or 11 or 12 pages, maybe more. But it's asking thoughtful questions. What is your favorite color? What do you enjoy doing? What are your favorite restaurants? Why do you want to be a surrogate? What kind of relationship do you want? And why we ask those questions, because it's not just about the surrogacy journey, but it's making sure we fit you in with a person that reads your profile and can relate to it, because they have that common thing that they have in common. And like
Dating
you said,
agency.
Jamie, like New Zealand, I
Yeah.
think those are the things that you want in that profile. And we will onboard an intended parent, and as we're talking with them and they're maybe navigating and looking at a few different agencies, they're like, your guys' profiles are so thoughtfully done and so full and informative, and same thing for our intended parent profile. So I think we get them when we do that, because it's like, yes, they are. You know why? Because we make thoughtful matches. Like,
Love
that's
that.
really important to us. So they see that. So I love that for you guys, that you could see that those are the things that maybe didn't go right when you saw those first couple profiles,
Yeah.
So good. Okay, so the next one, let's see here. Best and most challenging moments. Ooh, I love this one, you guys. Okay, who wants to go? Sam?
Ooh, um, this is so hard because again, I wasn't with an agency that was super supportive, educational, everything. So the worst, I don't.
Say
This is
it.
funny because when Alex and Ivana, our incredible photographer, videographers, marketing specialists, okay, when they interviewed me for my original story, I remember them being like, "What did you love about your agency?" And I'm not spitting names, but I was like, I didn't like anything. Like that wasn't the
Yeah.
great experience. And that's
Oh,
what makes me want to
no.
do a second journey because I want that agency, beautiful experience. The worst story time, the worst part of my journey was um, there is a lot that goes into a contract, right? Okay. And sometimes we don't read the fine print, but if you have an agency, a journey manager who actually walks you through and makes sure, hey, this is, and a good attorney. I had an attorney, but they were the same for the intended parents. So it was, yeah,
Oh.
it was weird because I couldn't come to her and be like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
this is weird because I felt like it was biased and like it wasn't going to be seen right. Like it was very like, oh, it's the worst feeling in the world. Some things that went down. My agency at one point told me I was going to go to jail. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong, you guys. Like I was great. I promise. Like I had gone to across the border to California. I'm in Arizona. And I had cleared it with my OB. I cleared it with the IPs. I didn't read the fine print that I was supposed to like get a sheet from my OB that actually said you're cleared to go to California. I was like past miscarriage stage. I was in the second trimester. So I had to have a paper and I had to send it to my case manager and she had to approve it. I didn't read that fine print and I had no idea. I thought like if everybody said, yeah, of course, and the IPs were like, go have fun. Yes, I'm so excited for you and your family.
And it's not
So
even normal to have your agency sign this
I
paper.
don't
I've
know
never heard of
that.
this before. I know, but that's
I didn't
weird.
know that. So they had texted
Ugh.
me and they were like, "Hey, Sam, are you in California?" I was like, "I'm on my way back." And she was like, that's not okay. That's not allowed. Were you cleared?" And I was like, "Yes, of course I was cleared." And they're like, "We're gonna need written notice that so you're in something." So first they said that I was like endangering the baby and they set me up for like a high risk ultrasound. And I was like, "What? The baby's fine, you guys." Like it was so stressful. And then I got the paper. She hadn't like written a formal, so I was like, I need you. I had gotten a paper. She's like, can you just send over the note that says like you said yes? And she's like, yeah, of course, sent it over. They're like, it needs to be backdated from when you had the appointment. So I said,
Oh
okay.
my
I called and I
gosh.
was like, hey, they want it backdated. Can you update that? Sent it over again. My case manager calls me and goes, I forget what the right wording is, but it's like based doctoring a document, said that I did it. I didn't. I had like all the
Those are
emails,
lofty
is illegal and you
accusations.
can go to jail. I'm like second
Wow.
trimester stressed, like
So
panicking, like
stressful.
I
Wow.
was like, what? I have two young children at home. I'm like, what is happening? I don't know what's going on. And so I'm like, I didn't do that. Please call again and have them verify that they did it. So she calls back, I don't know, an hour later after I've been pure, like, I didn't do anything, shaking, like stressed. I remember, like, those moments in your
God.
life when you like remember every scene around you because you're just like, and it was trauma. It was trauma.
Yeah.
Um, and she called back and she goes, hey, they verified that they backdated it. No apology, no like,
Yeah, no, of course not. No, of course not. And
It
this stories that really irk me and make me
yeah, it was
angry.
so scary. And then the rest of my journey, they were complete. They were
Yeah.
like, "What are you doing?" Blah blah blah, like this and that. I wrote on my birth plan, like, I don't want anybody from the agency in my room.
Yeah.
I got there and somebody
Oh,
was sitting in there, and I was like, "Mom, I need you to tell her to go because I'm not comfortable
Yeah.
with her."
Oh God.
So there's
I
that was
wish you would have
awkward.
known Casey by then. I would have been at that door and been like, get out of here now.
It was awful. It was so uncomfortable. Like I felt bad for her because she was just like sent. I had never met this woman before. She was just like a random person from the agency too. She
So
wasn't my
weird.
manager or anything. She was just like there to support me. But I'm like, this is not
Mm-hmm.
supportive. This is
No.
uncomfortable. Nobody read my birth plan. So she left, and
Yeah.
then I didn't hear from anybody. There's a lot that went on
I'm
that was
surprised
just.
they had a birth plan with everything that had shooken out at that point,
I actually created
honestly.
the birth plan.
Of course you did.
of
Of course you
course you
did.
did,
Of course you
Sam.
did. Yeah.
And I had it highlighted and everything. It was real pretty, like most of my documents. And I was like highlighted. Nobody from the agency. I don't even care at this point. Just listen to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love that for you, Sam. I mean, I
So,
don't love the rest
No,
of
I
the
know,
birth
I
plan,
know,
but
I
I love
know.
that birth plan that's highlighted and like meticulously curated.
what about you, Marissa? Any best or most challenging moments with your journey?
Most challenging was our lull between transfers, but that had
Yeah.
less to do with the transfer and more to do with all the personal drama that kind of came up.
Yeah.
You all probably don't know this, or at least Jimmy probably doesn't, but in between transfers, they found a nodule in my thyroid. And to this day, we still don't know the status of it. So we've just been watching it. But that was stressful.
Yeah.
My DNC didn't go quite right. I almost needed a second. I ended up in the ER for a day because I was like bleeding all crazy. But, all of that was not ideal. But,
Yeah.
the best is so cliche, but it's always the birth. I mean,
Yeah.
how do you beat that? And it was so funny because we're like in this, because there was a birthing center, we're in this nice, cozy room, and my husband and I are like doing our thing, and things start getting a little crazier. And Brian and Hollis had brought two of their friends to come be like support people for them. So they were there too, and that was fine and groovy. We got the midwife and my doula. So there's a few people in there, but I'm like doing my thing in this room, and I've got the nitrous because, dear Lord, I needed every ounce of that. And I'm facing the wall, and we're starting to push, and things are getting really intense. And she actually got stuck, so we had to flip. And when I flipped, all of a sudden we went from like the 5 people in the room, there were like 15 people, and I was like, holy jeez, like where did all of you come from? There were so many people. And so I'm like kind of paying attention to all these people, but also kind of paying attention to what's going on. And she's born, and all of a sudden, of course, I see Brian Hollis start to break down. I didn't catch the full moment, unfortunately, because I was kind of far away. I saw it later in the video, but eventually Brian makes his way over to the incubator, and I did see him kneel down in front of the incubator because Brian's super tall. He kneeled down in front of it, and I don't know if all of you have seen the picture, but there's this picture of him, and he's just like
Tears
a
running down his
mess,
face.
and it's just like he's in awe of her. And I didn't see the face because his back was to me, but when I saw that photo, like, oh my God, like, I'm trying not to cry now because it's just like you see it, and it's just
That's
like
the
this
why.
is like
That's
the
the why.
moment.
Yeah.
It's just like the pure like, oh my God, yeah. And then there's another picture of them embracing the second she's born, and they're both in like best moment, of course, by far.
Yeah.
But how do you top that?
Yeah. I know. That's for so many that ask why and how could somebody decide to be a surrogate and why would somebody be a surrogate again? It's like those moments. Oh my gosh. Aside from having our own kids, which are so special, but this being a part of that, there is just something, it's just crazy to be a part of something so much bigger than ourselves. I think that's it's powerful, it's profound, it's everything. So
I
love
thought I
that.
missed that point. I thought I missed that because when I went into labor, they were from France, so they had to fly over.
Oh, they
And I
weren't
didn't.
here yet.
No, because I also didn't tell them right away, which was a oops, because I didn't know my water was breaking. Remember, I thought I
No,
was
that was just
peeing.
peeing. It's the episode. Can we call this the episode?
But But I thought I missed that. I didn't know what I was going to miss. But after I was in my labor and delivery, or my whatever postpartum room, the daddies came in and they were like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "Good. How's, baby girl?" And they're like, "We haven't met her yet. We're doing that with you. Like, we're gonna go down." And I was
Oh.
like, "Are you serious? You're in the
Oh,
hospital and you haven't ran down the nurse." They're like, "No, you brought her into this world. We're gonna go meet her
oh
together."
my gosh,
Oh
I have
my
goosebumps.
gosh.
Oh,
So I was like, "Let me put my diapers on. Hold on." Like, let me switch this out. Let
Must
me
have
make sure if we
items.
do photos, it doesn't look like I have a giant diaper on, which it still did, but
oh,
whatever. So we
that's
went
okay.
down, and I remember that moment. And like, she was in the nursery. We walked in, and the dads just were just bawling, and just like pure love. Like, it's not even
Yeah.
just sight, sound. It's like energy. It's like magic. Like, it literally is
Yeah.
magic, and it just
Mhm.
fills you. And when we repeat these stories, like right now, I feel that magic again. I will
Mm-hmm.
always feel that magic. And
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
dads like ripped his shirt off and went skin to skin. And they
Oh,
came and they kissed me on the forehead, and they were like, "We will forever be grateful for you. We love you." Handed her, her over to me, and I held her, and it was oh,
I'm
just
not
like
crying. You're
nothing. I
crying.
know, nothing tops
Oh,
it except your own babies. But even that, it's a different
It's so
It's
feeling.
different.
different,
It's so
yeah.
different. And you
Oh,
can't describe it properly. Like
no.
No.
your story sounds
Once you're in the
incredible, but
club,
like
you're
I
in the club.
still,
You
right.
know
It's
it,
just,
right?
it's
you
like a
have to
drug.
live
That's
it.
why
You
we
have
keep
to live
doing
it.
it.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
know. I
Yes.
know. I know.
Yes.
If I hadn't been retired, I probably would have done it a few more times, honestly.
Yeah.
But I was retired from it, so
Yeah.
I guess now I just pour my heart into this and advocating for
I guess that
women
works.
and parents. I
Yes.
guess. I guess.
Just keep
Yeah.
loving vicariously through
Oh
everyone
yeah,
else.
Yes.
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Jamie, did you have any kind of crazy experience? Emotional meltdown?
Not well, we had my agency I ended up working with too is they're an okay agency, but a lot of the challenging moments that we had was just like communication wise. Like there was just a lot of little hiccups. Like the parents decided last minute they wanted to get the genetic testing, so I had to like work with the midwife office to try to get in within a certain week, and my case manager just kept calling me and like making me feel like I was in trouble for something, and I was like, I have called them. I'm waiting for them to call me back. Like, it made me feel
Was it
like
the NIP
anxious.
test or the amniocentesis that they needed?
It was just the blood test.
Okay, thank goodness, at
Yes, yeah.
least. Scary
So,
though.
but it was still like, I felt like I was in trouble for something. So then it got
Yeah.
me questioning, like, are my IPs upset with me because they haven't heard, like, they must be mad at me. And we would like text each other. And I just mentioned, like, I'm just like not feeling great about this. I feel like I'm in trouble. And it ended up being like a whole like something that got blown out of the water. She was like, I absolutely don't feel like that. And it just was unfortunate that in the very beginning we just decided like we're just going to have to talk through to each other when things like this happen, because when it goes through like the grapevine, something's happening and it's just not working out great. So I think it was unfortunate, but it helped us like bond more too. We text every week giving each other updates. What's going on in your life? This is what's going on in my life. And here's what's happening with your baby. But it was like we got to talking about other things too. And even now, there's like such a core like kind of friendship there. We're like talking about jobs with each other. They're going through a different surrogacy journey with a different surrogate. So getting to cheer them on through that, it's just been so beautiful. Like it didn't just end
No.
after that birth. Like it's something that we're going to be a part of each other's lives now forever. So yeah.
What
Warning
about
that
your
surrogate
delivery
that she
day?
might have a 12-pound baby.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes. I need
Disclaimer.
to give her a call real quick. Oh my gosh.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I love that. Is she's currently pregnant right now?
Yes, she is due, I
Is
think,
she on
around
track for a big
Christmas.
baby too?
Oh my
She
gosh.
said that he is measuring the same as
Oh no.
my baby, but they've already said like I went past my due date probably way longer than I should have, and so they already have like induction dates set and stuff like that. So yeah,
Oh my gosh.
You live and you learn, man.
yeah, yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
This next one I think is hilarious, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. But funny and unfiltered questions for others. Any? From others who didn't know about surrogacy, who had said like weird random things.
Like somebody else, like, what's the weirdest thing you
Yeah.
heard from
Yep.
surrogacy?
I
Gosh,
got
I didn't have a lot of, honestly, I didn't have a lot of,
I have a funny story.
yeah, let's
we
hear
need to
it.
hear
Yeah, let's
that.
hear.
So my husband thought it was hilarious that when we be going to the grocery store, I'm sure you guys all can relate to this. And towards the end, I was really big, and the sweet old lady behind me, we put our food down and we're about to check out, and she's like, "Oh, how far along are you?" And then before I can say how many weeks or I'm about to be, delivering this baby soon, my husband would be like, "Oh, this isn't my baby." And to see this woman's face so confused, and then I had to lean in and add to it because why not? I'd be like, "Oh, it's not my baby either." And then now she's completely mortified and so confused. And then I would say, "Oh, I'm a surrogate," and explain to her a little bit about that. But like, he loved doing it. And then I would add and pile on to it because why not?
Oh my
right?
God. I mean, having your husband or your significant other lead with that is
Oh, yeah.
genius. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
we ever did that, but that's a missed opportunity if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Oh
No,
my
no.
gosh. That's funny. I bet you really blew her mind a little bit.
Oh yeah, they did that for a few times. Or my girls would say, "Yeah, my mom's pregnant, but it's not her baby. She's giving it away." And it's like, without the context of like what that I'm a surrogate and I'm not giving my baby away. This isn't my baby. This is their baby. But it's fun kind of having those conversations too.
Yeah.
Oh, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
I
that
think
is-
the only one that I got is I was a surrogate at the time when I think it was Khloe or Kim Kardashian announced that she was using a surrogate. So then everyone was like, "Are you her surrogate? Like, are you just not telling us?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no, it's not."
No weird things, Sam, that you can think of.
I guess it was kind of cringeworthy, but it was more from, yeah, it was uncomfortable and awkward for multiple reasons. So I used to teach kids yoga in after school programs at elementary schools, right? Before COVID hit and nobody wanted my germs. And I had a group of, they were like older elementary kids, and I was super pregnant. And, I had to explain, it, I didn't have to explain, but somebody asked, and I was like, "It's not my baby. I'm actually a surrogate," because we would have like open, dialogue. And I had one of the students who already knew how babies were made was like, "Oh, so it's two dads? Then how did he make a baby with you?" So I was like, "Oh God, I can't explain this." So I had to be like, "Okay, it's actually sciencey, You take a seed and an egg and you mix it up and make a magical embryo." Because I also had students that were like younger. So it was like,
Yeah.
this is a weird
Yeah.
thing to talk about. And of course, it's actually really fun dialogue to have with your kids. And it created that open dialogue of like, mama, for me, because it was two fathers, mama, is helping because I have the home to give these fathers their baby because they need a woman to help carry. So then it allowed them to kind of understand like, oh, okay, so this is, without going deep into, the whole intercourse and everything. And that's not what we're doing here. But that was that kid's thought process was like, I understand why, and I was like, we didn't do that, actually. So that was really cringy and awkward. Yeah. Cause I was like, I'm not your mother. I can't have this conversation with you.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a road you don't want to go down.
Yeah. Pause, rewind, go back. I'm not doing that one again.
I don't
Right,
think I had
right.
any like. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you can dig yourself a hole real quick with those things.
Oh yeah, for sure.
100%.
I was gonna say I don't think I had any like funny ones, but I had some like not funny ones. People who get real rude.
See, that makes me sad.
Yeah.
It makes me sad because I think that if they realized how many people come together for this process, when we were finding out the gender of the baby, we were at the tech's office and my husband's there holding my hand, the intended mom's holding my other hand, her husband is standing there behind her, and the tech had said, "Do you want to know the gender?" And the intended dad said, "Yes, yes." And so the tech had said, "It's a boy," and he's bawling, crying, it's just tears are running down his face. And I look at everybody else in the room, my husband included, who doesn't cry, was crying. And the tech at the very end of this call, when we were leaving, he had said, "Thank you." And I remember kind of thinking, like, "Thank you? What do you mean, thank you?" He's like, "I have not seen a child so wanted and so deserved be loved by all of these people." And you have to think about that, right? You have the doctors, you have the attorneys, you have the surrogate, you have an agency. There are all these professionals coming together because this child is so wanted and so desired and so, it's going to be loved, right? Yeah. So for somebody to have a yucky opinion on that, it's like, how dare you make this poo-poo on something so beautiful? And this child is wanted more than anything. And for somebody to have that negative thought of like, well, you can just adopt. It's like, okay, well, you could just adopt. And actually adoption is hard.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it was, So that makes me sad for you, Marissa. I can say I came across very few people that were negative, but I'm sure they had like questions, right? They were curious, but it makes me sad when I hear there was just this like negative perspective about surrogacy.
I didn't have a lot of negative, but there were a few, and unfortunately most of them centered around the fact that it was a same-sex couple, which made me mad. I remember there was just one action specifically where they were asking about what was going on. It's like, "Oh, I'm a surrogate," and they were like, "Oh, that's so cool." And I remember how it came up, but it came up that it was a same-sex male couple, and they just like flipped, like 180. And I'm just like, this is, like you said, this is a child who is so loved. This is a love story. It has nothing to do with them being a gay couple. This is a love story, and she is so loved. And if you go on their Instagram now, every time they post something about that baby and you look in the comments, everyone's like, "She's the most loved. This is the most loved person in the world. Oh my gosh, I've never seen a baby who's so loved." Like, she is surrounded by love. I mean, more than my kids ever were at that age. And that's not a swipe at the people around me. It's just because they have such a huge circle of people who adore that baby. And it's just like, how dare you, like, that's gonna make my blood boil.
Yeah, we get a lot of comments daily on our ads, unfortunately, with people that just are naive or closed-minded, and I try to give them the benefit of the doubt, but some days I'm just like, oof, like,
Don't have the stones.
but you can't. You got to. You just have to, like, you know what? This person doesn't know, and they will never know. You can tell when somebody might be like, "Okay, let me try to open your mind," and then others you're just like,
delete
bye.
And repeat.
Yeah.
Delete and repeat. Block, delete, and repeat.
That's so sad, though. I wish everyone could just have an open mind, just of all things, not just this,
Yeah.
Just
peace. You said, world peace.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Well, this has been a lot of fun. I always like to end with a couple things. So first thing, before we get into the mean tweet segment of what we do, I would love for you ladies to share what advice for future women considering surrogacy or have already started this journey. What is that advice you would like to leave them with if they're listening right now?
That's a great question. I would definitely default back to advocating for yourself. Because especially after hearing these other two lovely ladies talk about how they were willing to compromise, I clearly was as well. It just happened that the universe had other plans. Don't do that. I cannot imagine going through this with any other couple. It would just so not be the same. And that breaks my heart, the thought of it being not how it has played out, and the idea of other people going through it and missing such an opportunity. Like, you have to advocate for yourself if no one else is doing it for you. And if they are, just, dial up maybe just one more notch even. Just, throw what you want out there and don't be shy about it.
Yep. Amen, sister. What about you, Jami? What would be your takeaway advice for these women?
Yeah. On top of advocating, I think, just listening to your own intuition. You know what feels right and what feels wrong, and just really trusting that. And then just like finding a community of surrogates or people who are supportive who could be there for you throughout your journey, because it is such a abnormal thing that chances are your best friend is not a surrogate with you, so you don't have that someone to talk to necessarily about, is this normal for transfer, is this normal for this? So it's been really helpful for me to find like other
people
surrogates out there, and it's like connecting about our stories and things that we've learned and things that we would recommend to other people. Is just find that, and with that you're gonna have a great journey because you're gonna have that support and expert kind of advice.
It's huge. It's huge. We when we first started Surrogacy Is, Sunshine and I am not a social media person like at all. But I did know that there are a lot of advocate groups in some of these platforms on social media that are not great. And what I would say is like, it was like a mean girl zone where if you asked a question, and I would go back to this, you needed a freaking PhD to ask that question, because God forbid you ask a question that might be meant with, that's a silly question, or you should go do your research, or you need to research for 2 more years. It's like, first of all, we are trying to lift women up and showing them how beautiful surrogacy is.
Yep.
That is not the way we're doing it, ladies. This is not. So we created our safe space, and Sunshine loves social media and is so good at it. And so when we created that safe space in our Facebook group, anytime I invited a new person that we had the great opportunity to be able to support them on their journey, I would say to them, we've got this space. It's called our safe surrogacy space, and no mean girls are allowed. We will let you ask all of the questions and met with kindness and lift you up and encouragement and education. So find your safe space, because there are safe spaces out there, but there are also the mean girl spaces. So be careful where you step and make sure that you are surrounding yourself with good people. Jami, that is huge.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that. Huge.
Absolutely.
Sam, what about you, my friend?
I mean, echoing both what Marissa and Jami said, yes, I was going to say surround yourself with community, but making sure that community is safe and supportive, because you're right, they're not all the same. And I'm in some of I used to be in some of the other groups for my journey before Surrogacy Is. And I ain't just saying it because I help make sure our group is loving and supportive. It's wild. It's wild out there, and you don't want the wild. You want the love and the peace and the support. And our group is just this incredible, incredible community that I'm so freaking proud of. I love it so much. And we're on it, And yes, advocating for yourself, speaking up, and feeling empowered to do that, and not being afraid to ask the questions. There is no stupid question, like some of the groups will say, like, speak up. It's okay if it's been asked before. You didn't ask it yet. So speak up and ask, and
So you're not going to tell them to go search the search function for that,
Lord.
right? You're not going to do that? Oh, okay.
Like,
I hate that.
like, you know what? Yeah. And I mean, that's part of our community too, is having somebody be able to just text or call and say, hey, maybe the message on there isn't enough. Maybe you just need to talk it through. And you have that support to do that with experienced surrogates who really are looking out for you and the intended parents, but also just educating yourself as much as you can. And, that can be within the community asking the questions, or that could be something like our amazing course and walking through so much. I'm so excited for it. Of just feeling so empowered with knowledge. It's huge when you know that difference, because honestly, one of my biggest fears going into surrogacy was, what if I did something wrong? What about the things I don't know? Like, what happens next? And now it's throughout my entire journey that I didn't have somebody that really walked me through it or gave me tips or support, loving support. And so having that makes a world of difference. It's also just funner when you have a cool community that talks to each other, like this. I love our club.
I do. And for our listeners, we haven't really talked about this yet, but it's coming soon, is we have created with these team of amazing women a beautiful course that we get to then give to our surrogates so they get to really lean in and know what to anticipate, but also the why and the feelings behind all of this. And then soon, once we've perfect that, we are going to focus all of our efforts on the parents because they are equally in the dark, and we're realizing and learning that as we're doing this and being an agency, and as many couples that we've been able to help in families and building, we're realizing there's just not enough out there for our intended parents too. So there's going to be a course that we have for our intended parents shortly after we're able to really finalize this beautiful course for our surrogates. So we are excited to launch that. So stay tuned. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen.
It's like the second surrogacy. It's such a labor of love.
That's what it
We're
is.
birthing these courses, and they're
God, you
freaking
guys
beautiful.
are so amazing. I've been looking at these courses and I'm so stinking excited. So
They're so
it's
in-depth.
good.
It's cool.
So much love goes into it, but even so much love and knowledge from all of our team, like not
It's
just
a
us,
team.
but
It's a team thing. I love it so much. I love it. Okay, so we have our mean tweet segment. I would love, I know you guys have access. Normally I drop it in to the chat, but because these are screenshots, what I think I'll have you do, if it's okay, we'll have each of you take a mean tweet and read it if you can. And tell me how that made you feel. What are you feeling when you read these silly mean tweets? Who wants
take a
to go
deep breath.
first? I know. Try
I'm not
to get 'em
prepared for
fired.
this. I'm already trying to zen myself, or else I'm gonna come in real hot.
We should turn on meditation music in the background before we turn on memes. No, just kidding. It should be the opposite. It should be like,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, okay, I designate Jami. You go first. That first one.
Okay. Buying and selling women's reproductive parts and pieces and exchanging human children is not good. I'll never be open-minded about this.
I mean, what do you even say to that?
Yeah. It's just the buying and the selling part I will never understand because it's like...
It's wrong. It's not accurate, you know,
Yeah.
and I think that the perception that I've gotten from some families is there's this coercion that goes with surrogacy. And when I tell our intended parents and I'm onboarding them, I explain to them the amount of pre-screening we have to do for the surrogate to make sure, A, it's safe for her to be a surrogate. That's first and foremost, right? Mm-hmm. So is it safe for her to be a surrogate? But is she financially stable? Does she got a good support system? We're running background on her and anybody in the home over the age of 18. We're doing a psychological evaluation. We're doing a virtual home visit. I always joke and say this is the ultimate babysitting for 9 months. We just kind of want to make sure that environment's a good one. The amount of energy that this person who's considering surrogacy has to go through in those hoops that they're jumping, I'm like, this is somebody who is motivated and excited to help you be parents. In no way, shape, or form is she selling her body. Like, give me a break. So those are those ones that we repeat, delete, and block and move on. Because you can't, she said it herself, or he, whoever said this, I'll never be open-minded about that. Okay, well, that's sad. That's a sad place to be. And I hope you never come across another family, sister, your kids needing help through IVF or fertility because they're not able to grow their family. So, their loss is what I say to that, honestly. Okay, what about you, Marissa? You want to do this next one? There's a few in here, so pick one that you love, please.
Oh boy. Well, okay. We'll do this one. Are you guys? Okay. Are you making sure the adopters are not psycho men who are going to use the child as a sex object?
Oh my God.
It's happening. I have so many thoughts on this. However, my main is that it is the most toxic thing I've ever heard, and it is so homophobic. It is so homophobic to assume that just because they are two men, they are going to spend all this time, all this money, all this effort just to produce a child that they can molest. Like, come on. Not only is that so incredibly offensive, but it's so harmful for same-sex couples, of course, and it's harmful, I think, for SA survivors.
Yeah.
Like, it's,
Yeah.
I feel like I could go on and on about this,
I
but
know.
that is such a toxic mentality. People are people, they love each other, they want to have families, they want to expand. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Just because they're same-sex couples does not mean that they're just built-in pedophiles. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Or just because, you know, you're an opposite sex couple, like, who's to say you're not going to do that? Like, come on. This is so absurd and so archaic and so offensive. And I'm going to stop because I could ramble all day about this.
Even that they said adopters is offensive to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, but
I know.
oh my gosh.
Again, we'll say this again. Block and delete and move on, because you can't, that negativeness is, it's sad, honestly.
So
And
disgusting.
it's gross.
And it's so
there's
harmful
that.
to so many people.
Yeah. Sam, which one did you pick? I'm really curious.
Is it ethical to birth a baby and then remove that baby from its birth mother for XYZ reason? Adoption is one thing, but to buy a womb, that is a parallel of the Handmaid's Tale. There's so much to unpack here. Like,
Yeah.
first of all, thanks for your concern, but just to clarify, there's not red cloaks, there's no nonsense Handmaid's Tale happening. We go into this wanting to do it. Also, XYZ reason, like, that's listed as if it's not like pure for love, for creating a family. Like, we are creating love, forever love. Again, this is just somebody with a closed mind, naive. Some people just love their keyboard and they love to type, you know, not even maybe, I don't know if this is truly what this person feels, but it's like drama, and it's bad drama. It is offensive to the surrogates and the intended parents. I'm not sure if she or he is against adoption, because adoption is one thing, but to buy a womb, nobody's buying a womb. Again, there's
Yeah.
love, there's relationship in this. Are we receiving compensation? Yes, but we are helping create a family, and in turn, you know, we are helping our family. It's huge, you know, what we're doing. I asked my son the other night, I was like, hey, do you think surrogates should be compensated? And he was like, yeah, you have to push a baby out. That hurts. I was like,
Yes,
he's not
okay.
wrong.
No, he's
Yeah.
not wrong. It could be a 12-pound baby even.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, and they called them birth mothers. Surrogacy is very rarely a mother.
Right.
Surrogates are very rarely like a biological mother. So
Yeah.
that's
Right.
just such a warped opinion.
Right.
Oh
And
my
again, that's
gosh.
that naive processing of maybe this person probably maybe doesn't know that in gestational surrogacy, the baby is not yours. You're helping carry baby and bring it into this world.
Kidnapping.
You're not removing
There's
the
an embryo
baby
Straight
transfer,
up
from
right?
me.
kidnapping
Like,
the
There's an
baby is what
embryo
they want us
transfer.
to do.
we go into
No,
this
I will not.
consensually knowing that when we birth baby, it's going to its parents, its true parents. It is their turn. Like, we've done it. We don't want another kid. Just kidding.
Well, and I
But
feel
you know,
I feel like this mindset is also very much people assuming that it's like a same-sex couple type thing. How many surrogates are having a baby for a mother and a father, and those are the genetic, like literally, like someone else's, like, I mean, I
More
don't know.
times
I
than
could
not,
just-
it's gestational surrogacy. I would say traditional surrogacy is not even really practiced anymore. I mean, there's a few situations, and I do actually know there's a couple agencies that will if they want to do traditional surrogacy. But gestational surrogacy has been around a long time. And I think that that's just a naive comment, right? You don't know what you don't know. And so instead of asking the question, you have an opinion about it. And it sucks. It's sad. So gestational surrogacy, where a transferred embryo is to the surrogate's uterus and she carries that sweet baby, but that baby is not mine. That baby looks nothing like me because it's not my genetics. I'm that sweet oven allowing that baby to grow and having that place for it to be for that 9 months, for it to be able to go back to its parents. And I am done having kids. I am excited to go and sleep a full night of sleep where they get to enjoy those sleepless nights. So,
And you actually get to
all
heal.
right
yeah.
Like
without having
postpartum is actually relaxing. Like go home and relax. Like you might have other
yes.
kids at home, but you're not like waking up through the night with a baby. We know how it is. Like that's that parent's turn. And I remember my dads when they called me, or they didn't call me, they were texting me, and they were like, "Girl, this girl just eats all night." And I was like,
Uh-huh.
"Yeah, yeah, you're gonna be okay, I promise." But you know, so and it's just these tweets are
Yeah.
wild. And I want to
Yeah.
hold compassion for people that don't know, but when you come at it in such a negative way, it's so hard to do that. But I still am like, okay, this person isn't aware of
Yeah.
this and this and this. And but I'm not going to convince them. You can tell when you're like, I'm not going to convince them. So it's not for everybody. It's not,
Yeah.
but
And that's okay.
It's
And so here
right.
we are doing this. And I think that that's what we're going to be able to do is pour into the education and having a conversation and realizing you're a normal person. I'm a normal person. Weird people don't do surrogacy. Amazing unicorns do surrogacy. I
Yes.
think that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. So thank you, ladies, for doing this with me. What I realize now is we need to do this more often, please. We need to get more of these opportunities to meet the real life women who consider surrogacy and talk about
Yeah.
these really impactful and important topics. So, thank you guys for coming and
Yes.
doing this with us.
Oh, this was so
Yes, it
fun.
was fun.